From filmmaker Marcus Nispel comes the 12th installment in the infamous Friday the 13th franchise, including Freddy vs. Jason, and acting as a reboot of the entire Friday the 13th mythos, hoping to kickstart an entirely new line of films that ended up never materializing beyond this movie. Let's take a look at 2009's Friday the 13th. I was never excited about this project. From its initial announcement to the on-set production photos showcasing Jason's long blonde flowing locks of hair, I was just lukewarm at best regarding this reboot. However, I still found myself in theaters on opening night, hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. I came out of the theater pretty numb about what I'd just seen. A hodgepodge of the first 4 films, a lackluster storyline, a film that was visually too dark to see most of the time, and a movie that just, in general, failed to even justify its own existence. To this day, all these years later, the movie hasn't really gotten any better for me, and I honestly think it may in fact be the most boring movie out of the entire franchise.
What the fuck? What is this? No!
In the 2009 reboot of Friday the 13th, a group of young adults travels to the abandoned Camp Crystal Lake in search of a stash of marijuana. They encounter the masked killer, Jason Voorhees, who quickly dispatches most of them. 6 weeks later, another group arrives at a cabin near the camp, encountering a man named Clay Miller on the way, who is searching for his missing sister, Whitney, one of the earlier group's members. As this new group starts to enjoy their vacation, Jason begins hunting them down one by one. Throughout the movie, it's revealed that Whitney is still alive, being kept hostage by the hockey-masked madman because she bears a resemblance to Jason's deceased mother, Pamela Voorhees, which plays into his decisions regarding her fate. The climax sees a final confrontation between Jason, Clay, and Whitney, which ends in lackluster fashion, with Jason expectedly bursting out of the dock and grabbing Whitney. New Line Cinema's Toby Emmerich enlisted Platinum Dunes producers Michael Bay, Brad Fuller, and Andrew Form to remake the Friday the 13th film in the same vein as their reboot of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After a year of negotiations with Paramount Pictures, New Line Cinema, and Crystal Lake Entertainment, the producers acquired the rights, deciding to rework the film's mythology rather than continue the series or simply retell the origin. Elements from the first 4 films were incorporated, and the audience would see Jason Voorhees transition from a bag-covered face to his iconic hockey mask in the film. The movie, set in the 2000s, was penned by Damian Shannon and Mark Swift, with Marcus Nispel hired as its director. Filming took place mainly in Austin, Texas, in 2008. Derek Mears was cast as Jason, emphasizing the character's backstory and motivations. The cast also included Amanda Righetti and Jared Padalecki. When crafting the script for Friday the 13th, writers Shannon and Swift drew from their previous experience on Freddy vs. Jason to establish specific guidelines. They sought authentic-sounding teenage characters and aimed to avoid cliches such as the characters knowing Jason's name or the film becoming self-referential like Scream. Instead, they focused on presenting Jason as a territorial protector in the woods, living off the land. While they initially incorporated unique death scenes for some characters, budgetary restrictions and creative decisions resulted in changes to these scenarios. They aimed for a balance between innovation and paying tribute to iconic elements from earlier installments, such as the presence of a wheelchair and a sweater in Jason's lair. The character of Jason underwent revisions, with inspirations from figures like John Rambo, yet the producers avoided making him overly sympathetic, emphasizing his role as a relentless killer. For the visual effects, the producers employed Asylum Visual Effects, which worked on 25 shots of the movie. To ensure safety and achieve specific visuals, many scenes, such as Amanda's sleeping bag death and Chelsea's boat accident, were crafted digitally. Asylum also digitally generated weapons and enhanced some of Jason's signature kills, combining practical shots with digital additions for a seamless effect. Effects artist Scott Stoddard crafted Jason's appearance by merging elements from Carl Fullerton's design in Friday the 13th Part 2 and Tom Savini's work in Friday the 13th The Final Chapter. Stoddard aimed to showcase a more human side of the character, incorporating hair loss, skin rashes, and traditional facial deformities. To achieve this, actor Derek Mears wore a full-body makeup from the chest up, including a chest plate with movable fake skin, a hump for scoliosis, and a prosthetic eye for realistic eye movements. The makeup application initially took around 3.5 hours, but was later reduced to slightly over an hour for scenes with a hockey mask and approximately 4 hours for unmasked scenes. Jason's wardrobe included combat boots and a customized t-shirt with holes to display the makeup effects. His iconic jacket combined elements from a hunting and military jacket to create a, quote, giant Frankenstein jacket, reflecting the leaner physique of this iteration of the character. Stoddard drew inspiration from the third and fourth films when designing Jason's hockey mask, creating 6 new versions while maintaining fundamental design elements and aging down the markings on the forehead and cheeks.
Oh God, you scared the shit out of me, bro. Are you looking for this? Cause it completes your outfit.
Form and Fuller acknowledged the iconic nature of the music featured in the initial 4 installments of the franchise. In preparation for their 2009 movie, they promptly secured licensing rights to the original music, which had been composed and performed by Harry Manfredini. Their intention was not to use the complete original score, but to have Steve Jablonsky craft a score that evoked the essence of Manfredini's work and set the tone for the 2009 film. Nispel, having previously collaborated with Jablonsky on the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, conveyed his desire for Jablonsky to create a memorable, yet subtly nuanced soundtrack, one that would linger in the audience's mind without overpowering the viewing experience. Although Manfredini is my favorite and preferred composer for the franchise as a whole, I do at least think the original score for this movie is better than those of Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X, but still nothing compared to the music heard in Final Chapter, New Beginning, or Jason Lives. Not even close. The 2009 reboot of Friday the 13th leaves much to be desired. It fails to captivate the audience and lacks any compelling justification for its own existence within the franchise. Regrettably, it brings nothing innovative to the table in terms of plot or character development. While the cast puts in commendable performances given their material, the majority of the characters they portray are entirely unlikable, with the possible exceptions of Clay, Whitney, and Jenna. Trent, although occasionally amusing, largely embodies a caricature reminiscent of something straight out of 2007's Transformers, which he is. The film, despite its occasional bursts of action, drags on at a snail's pace, making it a tiresome slog to sit through. While I can't claim to enjoy this movie per se, I'll concede that it does surpass the dismal 2010 remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Derek Mears admirably takes on the role of Jason Voorhees, but even his performance can't save the film's troubling visual representation of the iconic hockey-masked madman. I just can't stand the way Jason looks in this movie. The bulbous and oddly shaped hockey mask is particularly bothersome to me. While it's not the worst cinematic experience I've ever had, I'd opt for any other installment in the franchise over this one, as it embodies the epitome of the word average. With that said, Friday the 13th, 2009 is, at best, passably average.